Michael in Poland. Michael, you are live with Eric and Jamie. How are you doing?
How are you guys? I have to say na zdrowie. I'm going with cherry vodka and Coke today.
Ah,
cheers.
Wait, okay, I hate to be that guy that's like, oh, you're from another culture, tell us a thing. What is a traditional cheers, or how do you personally say cheers?
Cheers, na zdrowie. You actually said it when you were drinking that.
Okay. I thought that was Russian.
No, whiskey
or is it
champagne. It's similar. I mean, it's the same family of languages. So
Slavic?
there you go.
I know a thing. Okay. Ooh, what did you want to talk about today, Michael?
So first of all, I would like to thank the Atheist Experience and Matt Dillahunty, because when I was doubting my faith in my early 20s, he really saved my psyche in some degree, you know, with all the guilt that came with rejecting God and eternal sin and all that. And I was like, happy to find people that kind of put me straight in a way, you know. So thanks to that, I know you guys know him, so please tell him thank you from me.
We will.
I actually thought I was going to connect with the Atheist Experience, but I see you guys are somehow affiliated with them, so cheers to you guys too.
Coattails, something.
We're another call-in show.
Similar format. There's a Polish version of the Atheist Experience.
What? Okay.
There is no Polish version of the Atheist Experience. Polish people are 95% Catholic. I don't know how many actually believe, but I mean, it's a whole different ball game in this country, which I don't really want to get into if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
So there actually is a show, you should check it out, it's called The Atheist Show, and it is in Poland. They reached out to us
And
too
in
for
Polish.
advice on how to get the show started, so definitely check it out.
I have no idea how good it is because I don't speak Polish.
Yep, I have no idea. But you can report back.
I don't know how legal it is, because in Poland there's a law that you can't actually say anything that offends religious feelings. There was a pop star that back a few years back, she said that the Bible was written by some bunch of old high drunks, and she got fined somewhere around $1,000 for that because she offended some religious feelings. I never knew you can get punished for offending feelings, but apparently in our law that's the case. Maybe that has changed since then. I'm no lawyer, but I doubt it.
So what did you want to talk to us about today?
Okay, guys, two caveats I might have for you.
Okay.
One is the proving a negative. In short, you know, we often talk about it that you can't actually prove a negative.
Right.
And I recently came upon this example as I was talking to my Muslim flatmate and trying to, kind of explain to him how you cannot prove a negative. I went on to example just, on the example of DNA. And I was like, you can't really prove you're not from, say, Norway in some degree. And then he said, well, yeah, DNA can prove it. And then, I was a little bit dumbfounded in a way, but I said, well, yeah, but DNA now is, when you get some DNA tests, they say like 90% sure that you are 30% from this country, 40% from this country, or whatever the statistics might be. And but it's not hard to imagine that within 10 years, the DNA science will be advanced enough. We will be able to discern that with 100% certainty, right? So here's 10, 15, 20 years.
99%. Sorry, not to be the science, blah, 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 never 100.
That? I mean, if we would decode the DNA structure sufficiently, why do you think we cannot decode it to 100% level? I'm sure. I don't think that's a miracle.
No. I agree. It's just, the nature of scientific conclusions is that they're all weighted on the evidence, so it would be like 99.9 bar. Like evolution, we're there. We can say practically it's 100 because 99.9 bar rounds to 100. Sorry, it was a comment about the nature of science, not about the nature of DNA sequencing. So it was a dumb thing to
I don't know
bring
if
up.
you're saying that we will never be able to 100% DNA sequence, or you are saying that we will be able to at one point 100%. 100, not 99.9. I'm saying I think that why leave the 1%? Somebody will figure it out.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
last percent. Right?
Well, because I honestly think that so long as we're tentative about things, we leave ourselves open to learn new things. I mean, we're constantly, discovering things, and if it turns out that we were wrong, we need to be willing to do that. And by saying something's 100%, I would be worried that I personally would have created this system around myself where I'm like, no, that's not possible, and I would shut myself to evidence.
It's not a statement about.
Let me give you this example.
Sure.
Say you go to the doctor today and you have your blood tested, and he tells you you're O negative or whatever, RH something, yeah? Well, what do you think? Like, I'm 99% O negative or what? No, you're 100%. You know it because the doctor told you, he did some tests, and the tests say you got 100% this blood. And this will be the fact of DNA. They'll just take your DNA and they'll be able, with 100% certainty, tell you you're this or that or whatnot. Is my opinion. And I think if you're saying that that's not the case, we can discuss that at some point as well.
To be clear, the point I was making was more esoteric and minor, and the point I was making was like I can.
The point then, right?
Yeah.
It's a semantic.
Assuming that we do get to this scientific era that we'll be able to decode DNA to 100%, you will be able to prove a negative. So me saying that to my Muslim friend, prove that you're not from Norway, all he has to do is give his DNA, and he's like, there you go, here's your proof. I'm not from Norway, proved. I'm sure I'm making some error there. Some kind of fallacy, and I'm not sure what. So that's why I wanted to throw it out to you guys, as you got a bunch of intelligent people there. I'm sure much more intelligent than me, and I think it's a good talking point for figuring that one out.
What do you think, Jamie?
Do you want me to take it first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's a couple ways that I would approach this as a question. So before we go into the specific example, you keep saying testing DNA to determine that he's from Norway. Presumably you mean like of whatever you would define as from Nordic descent, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's Muslim, so he's probably like, some percent, whatever, Egypt, some percent, some Iraq, I don't know, Azerbaijan a little bit, because he's from the Middle East. And we can assume that he doesn't have Norwegian blood in him, but we don't know that for sure. Yeah. So we cannot prove that negative to him. Yeah. But if we had that evidence, he could say, look, proven right there. A negative is proven. I'm not Norwegian.
So the only thing I was going to say is apparently I'm Mr. Semantics today. Assuming a solid definition of what it is to be genetically Norwegian, and assuming sufficient genetic science, then yes, you could demonstrate that a person, if you could entirely determine a person's genealogical descent within a set of definitions, you could entirely determine that whatever was defined as Norwegian wasn't in there. Yeah. The real question is, in that statement is, what do you mean by negative?
Like, interesting.
Yeah.
I was thinking, maybe that's where the fallacy comes in, because I meant it in the sense, that you can't prove that there's a spaghetti monster in the sky, or a pink elephants in the forest, or whatever, or God in that sense. Yeah. So I'm still not actually understanding where the mistake is in my trail of thought.
So it boils down to a couple separate points, and I'm going to kind of list them out in order of importance for me. The first is the semantic point, and I'm going to share just a quick little aside. I had an argument with a good friend of mine, and I was telling him about the infinite monkey thought experiment. Have you heard that, the infinite monkey thought experiment?
Maybe I heard of it, but I can't think of it now.
So there are different versions of it, but in this thought experiment, you imagine a room with an infinite number of monkeys, with an infinite number of typewriters, and an infinite number of time. Eventually, because you have an infinite amount of time, those monkeys will type out the entire collected works of Shakespeare and every other written thing that humanity has or ever will write. And that's just because that's the nature of infinite, right? Eventually, all the variables get worked out. And it's a really fun kind of way to think. And my friend was like, no, that's not true. And I said, how is that not? And eventually, after many hours of discussion, we finally got to the point where he goes, look, even if the odds are 99.9 bar, right, they're just going on 99999% that it's going to happen, that doesn't mean that there's not a non-zero chance, right? There is some chance, no matter how small, that it won't. And ever since then, I think of that as getting stuck on the monkeys, right? Getting hung up on the monkeys. And so I think right now, Jamie and I are hung up on the monkeys of it, that we just want to, we want to clarify that one semantic piece, but that's not the bigger piece that I think you want to talk about. And so as long as we're done, talking about the semantic issue.
Of the semantic issue of 99.9 bar not being 100, because actually technically mathematically those are the same.
Yeah, and I mean, when it's functionally 100, right? Because it is functionally, you treat it as 100. You treat that as a fact, and we need to live that way in a whole bunch of different things about our lives. We don't know for a fact that the sun will rise in the morning, but we have such a high degree of certainty that we depend on it.
99.9 bar.
But I still don't see the connection with
so we
him
treat it as
proving that he's not Norwegian by
right. Yeah, I'm circling around.
He's getting to it.
So in the same way that we need to make that judgment, we do say this is a true thing. It's much easier to say it for mathematics because mathematics can be done in a vacuum. And you can get those kinds of arguments. It really depends on the kind of argument that you're making. If you're making an inductive argument, I think X, you by definition can't get to the deductive, this is 100% certain true or false, right? So if they say, I believe in God, it's a matter of degrees. But if you're talking about the DNA sequencing, you can get to, this is the theoretical I'm giving you, that we fully map the human genome and know everything about it. You can get to that point. And at that point, you can make a deductive argument about it, and you can say with certainty, this is X, Y, and Z, but that's a different kind of argument than the God argument. Yeah. And because of that, we have to separate those, because if we're not getting caught on the monkeys...
What's the difference again? What's the difference? So between inductive and, I'm not too familiar with these terms you're using.
Sure.
So, if you could, I'll Google it later and stuff.
No. If you're confused, that means the audience is confused, and that means that it has to be explained. So that's okay.
That's our job.
Yeah. Deductive arguments, I'll start with. Deductive arguments are something like
a syllogism.
2 plus 2 equals 4, right?
Or
you can say, if this, then that, this, therefore that.
Yeah.
Right? And it is 100% true. As long as all of those different premises are true, then the conclusion is true, right? And that is a deductive argument.
That's sound.
As long as each of those premises that you're giving are true, right? And then you test it, and if it's true, then it goes. But in our lives, we have deductive, or not deductive, we have inductive a whole lot of the time. Inductive logic is based on our personal experience and how much we know about a thing, right? And because
inductive is okay, yeah, I'm following.
And so let's say you look at a study that says 95% of people over this age are going to get cancer if they live this kind of lifestyle. You can say, if I get over this age and I live this kind of lifestyle, I'm going to get cancer, because the stats, as long as you vet them, because the stats are so high, you can make a decision that way, but you're never going to know with 100% certainty, right? There's so much baggage with a God that I can't see it moving into deductive unless you start to abstract it out.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't really want to go into that much into God, because obviously there's a lot they have missing there. But just the whole proving a negative without, maybe getting into the religious aspect of it, just the philosophical of proving a negative. This example of mine troubles me.
Well, I mean, if you're willing to ignore, hard solipsism, if you're willing to have a given that you can know something for sure, then I'm with you. But because I need to carefully make that argument and I need to carefully make sure that we're on the same place, I'm not willing to say that until we both understand those hang-ups that Jamie and I had. We were getting caught on the monkeys, right? We want to make sure that we're together before we continue.
And I think from what I'm understanding is that we're due for a call within the next 10, 15 years.
I'm down.
We're due for a call.
For him to
Once
call
that
back in
happens,
10,
and I
15
don't
years?
think, now they're like at 90-something% sure, right? I mean, I don't think it'll take too long for them to figure the rest of it out. Hopefully, right? I mean, that's some good stuff there.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think the problem that you may be running into is what you're defining as a negative. So, for example, something that I think is analogous, because what you're saying is, with the perfect test of DNA, you can't prove that you're not from Norway. But the problem is that with a perfect test of DNA, he can prove that he is, for example, from Russia or Egypt or Iran, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what definition you're using for negative, but it is possible mathematically at the moment to prove that 1 + 1 does not equal 17 by proving that 1 + 1 = 2.
Oh, perfect.
Which is
that's even the simpler version of what I'm saying.
Yeah. So that's the law of non-contradiction. In logic, you have identity, non-contradiction, and the excluded middle, right? And so in the tenets of philosophy, you have right there in the middle non-contradiction, right? A cannot equal not A, right? So yeah, in that way, you can make that decision, especially if you're dealing with deductive arguments. Like I said, if we're saying something is a deductive argument, you can make a true claim and have that true all the way across.
Well, in that case, I see this will become quite a topic for the religious when they call in from now on.
Why?
Well, they'll be like, well, yeah, 1 + 1 does not equal 3, not proven a negative, that talk they'll use.
You could prove that there wasn't a God, but you can't, therefore there's a good reason to, because you can prove a negative. Is that what you're constructing apologetics for people to throw at us?
They'll say like, yeah, I can, that they'll say that you can indeed prove a negative. And because you can't prove that God doesn't exist, therefore he does.
So.
Well, no.
Go.
I mean, did you want us to tackle this apologetic right now, or were you?
You don't have to tackle it now. I just want to throw it out there. You guys can have a day or two to think about it. Maybe come back to it one day on a.
Well,
on a podcast.
I mean, did you want to play Jesus is advocate?
Oh, we actually have some really great callers. I'd rather move on.
Are we all doing that anyway sometimes?
Are you on any of the social media that we do to keep up with this conversation? Are you on Reddit, for example?
I'm on YouTube and on Facebook. I mean, I'll keep up with you guys. Don't worry about that.
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, I just do it as a hobby, but not passionately, because at some point you're like, this religion.
Yeah,
sure. I mean, anytime you want to talk about it, that's my jams. I absolutely.
But I've got another caveat for you guys.
Yeah.
And this is not a question anymore. It's just a little analogy I came up with because I'm a little bit of a magician. I dabble in magic. By saying that, I mean the card type, not the dark type. Anyhow,
the kind that works and is real. No.
Yeah, I mean the trickery kind. Yeah. And so I came up with this idea that religious people, when I'm talking to them about religion, it's kind of like me showing a magic trick to some, I don't know, children or just some people. And I shuffle the cards and then I tell them to pick a card and then, I do some sleight of hand and I make the card disappear. And it's not no more in the deck. It's probably in my pocket or I hand it over to my friend or some kind of, shenanigans like that.
Yeah.
But they obviously didn't see the trick. So they say like, wow, that's an amazing thing. That's a disappearing card. That's a disappearing card. And I'm like, yeah, guys, that was a great trick, right? They're like, whoa, that's amazing. That's amazing. So I'm like, well, guys, let me show you how I did it. And at this point, the conversation becomes rather uncomfortable because they say, dude, I don't want you to tell me how you did that. I don't want to hear it. It's a fucking disappearing card. I'm like, whoa, guys, I'll show you how I did it. No, we don't want to hear how you did it. We don't want to hear how you did it. I'm like, well, guys, this guy has the card. Show them the card. No, don't show us the card. It's a disappearing card. That's that. And if you say otherwise, we'll fuck you up. You know, and this is how I sometimes, and I don't mean they'll beat me up physically, but they really get upset and stuff because most of these miracles and stuff, you can basically explain them by just pure logic. And come on, man, really, all these things. So that's just kind of an analogy that I came up with that I thought was pretty humorous.
All right.
I thought you might enjoy.
That's pretty good, yeah. I know you're a fan of Atheist Experience as well, yes?
Right, yeah.
Right, well, I mean, sorry. Yeah, the beginning, and we have remembered that we're going to thank Matt for you on your behalf.
Cheers,
you've presumably seen some of the episodes where Matt tells the story where he's like doing card tricks and someone is like, wow, you've got Satan's powers or whatever, and it was while he was a Christian.
Oh, well, I'm afraid I'm not that much of a fan. I've watched like a bunch of episodes, but there's so many more.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me tell his story for him. No. Well, anyway, I think we're going to move on to to other...
So, I mean...
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling in.
And, I hope you guys will talk about this proving negative again, because I'll be like checking in every once in a while.
I'm crafting a blog post in the back of my mind as we speak.
Absolutely, man. Definitely. You take care and definitely reach out to us. We're going to plug all of our social media stuff in just a second. So
cheers, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
You too.
Go without God.